ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। हरिः ओम् श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। हरिः ओम्। सरस्वती नमस्तुभ्यं वरदे कामरूपिणी विद्यारम्भं करिष्यामि सिद्धिर् भवतु मे सदा। हंसवाहिनी शारदे हंसवाहिनी शारदे वीणा विनोदिनी शारदे हंसवाहिनी शारदे वीणा विनोदिनी शारदे हंसवाहिनी शारदे भावराग विनोदिनी भावराग विनोदिनी लयतालबोधिनी शारदे वेदवाहिनी शुभप्रदायिनी विद्यादायिनी शारदे जयति जयति ब्रह्मस्वरूपिणी जयति जयति मोक्षप्रदायिनी जयति जयति वेदविलासिनी जयति जयति मां जयति जयति ब्रह्मस्वरूपिणी जयति जयति मोक्षप्रदायिनी जयति जयति वेदविलासिनी जयति जयति मां हंसवाहिनी शारदे वीणा विनोदिनी शारदे हंसवाहिनी शारदे। Thank you, Ma.
Thank you so much, Lalita Amma. That was absolutely melodious. And first, we wish all of you a very happy Durgashtami. Today is Ashtami, and wonderful greetings to all of you. And we are continuing with our program. And first, we are going to have the first speaker today is our Pushparaj sir from the Chinmaya Vidyalaya Kasaragod. And he comes with a very rich experience of 27 years. And there's one thing which I've always realized it whenever I visit schools. I find some schools having children who are differently abled and special children are there. But I always wonder whether we are doing the right justice to these children when we have them in the school. What are the support systems they require? Is it our responsibility? It's a part of our responsibility as leaders. It's a commitment to the society that we need to give a hand to these children. But sometimes it becomes a mandatory requirement and schools take children like this, but they do not do the right, justifying the requirements or whatever is needed for these children. So it has a whole lot of support systems are needed for the children. Even the leaders and the teachers who are handling need to have a completely trained in that particular area. So that is something very, very unique and special. I don't think there's anybody better than our Pushparat sir to talk about it. He has 14 years of clinical experience working with disabled children, and he has been a trainer for the HRD since 1996. He has trained more than 20,000 students, and he has been a trainer for Canara Bank, and he has regularly conducts psychology workshops at different colleges in Bangalore. He has trained more than 20,000 teachers in different colleges in Bangalore, and he is specialized in learning problems and remedial teaching for students with dyslexia, and he's an advisor for Karnataka state government for teacher training. He's a resource person for the Manipal University. He was running a counseling clinic at Bangalore, specialized in kindergarten material preparation, and he's a learning style designer for SSLC, PUC, degree and engineering students. Conducted several programs. He's a master trainer for the Department of Education of Lakshadweep. Conducted more than 500 workshops on learning styles. Conducted teachers workshops in Bangalore and Puttur, and he's conducted good number of workshops in schools in Mangalore, Mysore, Bangalore, Tumkur, Hospet, Devanagari, Shimoga, Trivandrum, and Ernakulam. I'm very proud that we have a very seasoned trainer amidst us in our Chinmaya family. So I hand over the mic to Mr. Pushparat. Sir, you can go ahead with the session.
Okay, thank you very much, Madam Amma. Thank you very much.
Can you be a little louder? Can you be a little louder?
I will go ahead. I will go ahead. It will be louder. Don't worry. I'll just share the screen and you just tell me, is it visible?
Sure.
Okay. Are you able to see the screen, Madam?
Yes, yes.
You are able to see the screen properly. Okay, right. Okay, I think now it is okay. And Hari Om, my pranams to lotus feet of Pujya Gurudev Swami Chinmayanji. And my pranams to all the principals, those who have joined here this morning, and my pranams to Shanti Amma also, and all the principals from India, Chinmaya family. And I'm very happy to note that I got an opportunity to present before all the principals of Chinmaya Vidyalaya as our own family. As Amma was telling, the special care to be given. I will not be very formal with respect to, special education means normally what we feel is, it is the duty of the counselor and the special educator. How exactly we can, in our regular classroom, how exactly help children overcome these problems, and what are the strategies we should know, being teachers, being educators. And that is what I am going to discuss in the next coming 20 minutes. And the topic, as Amma mentioned, learning problems versus intervention. The intervention is the strategy which I am going to discuss how exactly we can plan. And when you refer a child to a psychologist, Amma, is my sound is very minimum? Because someone has told that the sound is, now it is okay? Okay, thank you very much. Now it is okay.
It's fine. Yeah,
it's fine. Okay, okay. Now I'll pick the pace, don't worry. And how exactly the intervention can be planned in the classroom, how exactly intervention can be planned in the school, how exactly the intervention can be planned with the parents. These are the three things we have to take care with respect to remedial interventions. And one more thing, let me tell you, it's very, very specific about it. Without the help of the parents, especially for the day school, for the residential school, it is okay. Without the help of parents, when I say parents, if it is a residential school, the caretaker for whom this child is assigned to. Right. So let us go ahead, because we have residential schools in Chinmaya family, we have regular schools, right? So the first one is, what are the intervention strategies to be adopted in the regular classroom when the regular class is going on? The second one is how exactly we can go with the intervention in the extra time. And the third phase is how exactly the parents are to be guided, what practices should be developed at home by the parents to go or to continue with the interventions. So what do you mean by interventions? You know, your left hand and right hand side of the brain, when they are synchronized, when they are working together properly, the child will not have a learning problem. Whenever a child is suffering with the learning problem, what is intervention is, you are going to create a new neural pathways. You are going to create new neural pathways. This is what we call it as remediation, inclusive education. So this is nothing but, I'm going to focus the whole inclusive education. I'm not going to focus today. I'm going to focus with respect to reading, writing, and arithmetic. Then comes from where exactly we should begin. This is the Herculean question asked by each and every teacher. So we know the problem of the child, but we don't know where to begin with. This is a point to be cracked by each and every institution and each and every teacher in the school. Where exactly to enter with the child. Then how do we go about it? Multisensory. This is what the learning objectives are for this day. So let me go ahead and I will go to the next slide. With respect to learning the areas of concern, reading, writing, arithmetic, and comprehension. 4 areas of concern. Any class you take from LKG and you can go till, you know, till the child completes his formal education, maybe a doctorate or whatever it is, right? Now, I want everyone to use a chat box now. 86 plus 29, the answer is written by the child as 175. This is from my own school. One child has solved this problem like this. My question to you is, what is the problem the child is suffering with? All the members, participants, you can use your chat box. I'll be looking at the answer quickly, very fast, because I don't have much time. What is the problem the child is suffering with? Please use your chat box. Hope everyone is using the chat box. Okay, please. 86 plus 29, the answer is given by the child. Okay, dyscalculia, someone is telling that, Vijay Lakshmi madam is telling that dyscalculia. Someone is telling that dyscalculia. I'm able to see dyscalculia. Okay, right. Okay, anyone else ready to give the answer? Okay, dyscalculia is a common term given by, okay, someone is telling that dyslexia. You are also right, dyscalculia is, right. See, this is where we go wrong with respect to intervention. The minute we see a symptom, we conclude saying that this is the problem of the child. What exactly the child is suffering with? With respect to mathematics intervention, the first point we should understand is, with respect to mathematics remediation, language remediation is different, mathematics remediation is totally different. The first thing to be identified is, you have to ask the child, how did you get this answer? So we ask the child, how did you, child may be in a hurry. Okay, the child may be in a hurry. Let us analyze the answer. Then you will come to know whether the child was in a hurry. Right? Whether the child was in a hurry, you will come to know. Right. Now, 86 plus 29 is equal to 175. And somebody called it as dyslexia, dyscalculia, all those things you mentioned. Now let us see what the child has done. You just see the beauty of the answer. 9 plus 6 is equal to 15. The digit 5 is written by the child and carry 1 in the mind. 8 into 2 is equal to 16. Added 1 carry, so 17. So he joined 17. So that's how the child got the answer 175. So this is the place where exactly we should understand why did the child do like this. As someone has very clearly noted, lack of concentration. It is not lack of concentration. It is the visual coordination perception of the child. Sometimes the child is able to see the symbol plus as a plus. Sometimes the child will identify the plus symbol as multiplication, because attention is one of the factors and the visual coordination is one of the factors. When we reinforce children with such problems, what you are supposed to do is put the plus symbol very big instead of small plus symbol, almost double the size of this plus symbol, what is written here. You can mark it in the paper and give a practice to the child minimum for a span of 1 or 2 months. That is why I mentioned in the beginning that parents' help is very, very essential with respect to intervention. Right. Let us go ahead. Symptoms versus reasons. See, the minute we look at a problem, our daily habit is focus on the symptoms. Never focus on the symptoms. We have to focus on the reasons, or we call it as rely upon the reasons, and find the deficit with respect to skills. Error analysis is the key for maths remediation. This is what CBSE tells. Every year they go with a maths 10th standard paper, they go with a book, and it is called as error analysis of a 2020 question paper. The errors made by children. What percent of children made errors with respect to 1 mark questions, 3 mark questions, 5 mark questions, whatever it may be. So they continue like that. So the last problem, what I analyzed was the error. How did the child make this error? What is the reason for that wrong answer? When you come to know what is the reason for the wrong answer, how did the child calculate the answer in the mind of the child? If you come to know, 50% of your problem is solved. You look at my PowerPoint, whenever I use the PowerPoint, I use very bold letters. And I always use color combinations. You know why? Symptoms versus reason. The next color I changed. The next color I changed. You know why? Children with the visual perception, visual coordination problem, when they jump from one line to the next line, that is, and what will happen is the second line they will omit and they will go to the third line. That is why in the classroom, while copying from the blackboard, they make mistakes. And if you use different color chalk pieces, first line you write with the white color, second line you write with another color, your problem is solved. 50% of the remediation is taken place in the regular class where the teacher is writing on the blackboard. So this is how we can make it very simple. The remediation can be made very, very simple. Problems with respect to reading and writing. So I'd given an idea how can you begin mathematics. Now I am going to the language area, problems with respect to reading and writing. You know why I am giving only one example? Because you know special education, 2 years B.Ed course. I'm taking some of the important aspects so that by the end of the session, you will have a clear idea how exactly you can go. So problems with respect to reading and writing, the first one is basic sounds. What are the basic sounds? See, normally we come across teachers coming to the room and telling you that, madam, this boy doesn't know reading. Immediately I'll ask a question, with respect to which sound the child has a problem. Madam, sir, I have to verify and I'll get back to you. Then the teacher is coming with a reason, sir, when the letter V comes, the child has a problem. Oh, only the letter V? Did you check with other sounds? No, sir. With respect to A to Z, I have checked all the sounds. The child has a problem with only V. That's what I noted. The next question I'm asking the teacher, madam, what about the blends? What about the vowel sounds? What about the diphthongs? So what do you mean by the basic sounds? A, ba, ka, da, a, fa, ga, ha, I, ja, ka, la, ma, na, pa, kwa, ra, sa, ta, a, wa, sa, ya, za. If you put it as a song, a, ba, ka, da, a, fa, ga, ha, I, ja, ka, la, ma, na, pa, kwa, ra, sa, ta, a, wa, sa, ya, za. You know, why this rhythmic aspect has to be followed with respect to the lower classes? The reason is children can pick up rhythms very soon. That's why this is, see, don't think that remediation or intervention is the job of the clinical psychologist. Only they can do it. No, it is wrong. Each and every teacher, you are doing it, but we don't know we are doing it already. So I'll go to the next slide. Let us see the starting blends. You just see, look at this, my PowerPoint, the sound BL. It is blur, br, cl, dr, ch, then dr, dwa, fla, fra, gl. You just see the sounds. These are all called as starting blends. Gra, pla, pra. You just see the list. Sk and s, sk, sl, sm, sn, sp, sh, st. See, if you check any of the dictionary, Oxford Dictionary, you will get all these blends. All these blends will be available for you. So it is called as starting blends. You see the list of starting blends, and every list you see, the blend when it is present in the word, you can see my presentation. I have used red color, and the other letters I have used black color. You know why? Dark color makes a big difference in remediation. It is not important that how exactly you are presenting yourself. The way in which you are doing the remediation is very, very important. Color combination is the most important aspect in remediation, but only one thing, if the child has a color blindness problem, you have to be careful. That's the only one area where you should be careful. So starting blends. Once the basic sound is clear with respect to the child, whether the child has any problem with the starting blends, you go on checking all the starting blends, you will get a point why the child is not able to read. See, till now we are hitting in the air. We are doing something with respect to the child. Every day we give remedial practice. Be scientific. Be scientific. So what do you mean by scientific? Which sound the child has a problem with respect to reading? And once the reading is over, and in which sound the child has a problem with the writing? So that is what we have to go with. Ending blends. See, once the starting blends are over, then comes ending blends. L, b, d, d, k, sk, g. You just see, these are all the ending blend. F, sh, g, v, shan, shan. There are two types of shans. These are called ending blends. Whether the child has any problem with ending blends. So make a list of starting blends in which the child has problem. Make a list of ending blends in which the child has a problem. And then you can make a plan with a color combination. And how to go about remediation in the next slide. See, list of diphthongs. I, a, oi, ow. All the sounds are, I'm not going to emphasize on this because, you know, may take the help of your language teacher. I'm going to emphasize on the methodology adopted here. Right. Now, remediation, identify the missing sounds with respect to language. Use dark color for reinforcement. For reinforcing one sound, how many words are to be used? Minimum 5 words for each sound. Number of words per day varies from child to child. One child may learn within 2 days. Another child may learn within half a day. It varies. Writing in the air is very, very important. That's what I said, multisensory. Now, visual, you are getting it. Whenever I present in the writing in the air means the child should be made to hold the finger like this as you hold a pen. And make big letters in the air and pronounce the sound. A for apple. See, for example, if I write normally, you will see ulta. That's why I'm writing ulta. A for apple, A says A. B for ball, B says B. Writing in the air along with the sound, then you give them finger painting. So it goes multisensory. After getting a missing sound, reinforce that sound and practice for 1 week. And after 1 week, you just assess the child once again. The remediation clinic is available in the classroom or in the school itself in the extra time, or you can take the help of the parents too. Right. Identify the level, that is about a language. That is about language with respect to, for primary schools, it is okay. I did not reach to the high school. I know that. Identify the level of intervention in maths. How will you identify the level of intervention in maths? It's a very lengthy process, but I'll give you a glimpse of that. Just look at my slide. Level of intervention in mathematics. This is for the kindergarten. Whether the child is able to identify primary colors, red, blue, yellow, whether the child is able to identify secondary colors, green, orange, violet, able to identify basic shapes, able to identify left, right. See, the left and right, the age in which a child should acquire is 3.5 to 5 years. If the child is not acquiring this skill, then you will come across this problem in +2. What do you mean by sine inverse? The child will never understand. Sine, the child is, sine 90, the child is able to understand. Sine inverse, the child is not able to understand. Able to sort objects for shape, size, color. See, when you check the child, give activity for each item. In which level the child is present? The child is present in the level 0.3. You make a note 0.3. The child doesn't know left and right. Reinforce that skill. This is how to go about a level of intervention in mathematics, and make a list of skills required by you for mathematics, and go ahead, check the child. That is what the strategy to be adopted. Skills required to learn numbers. I'll give you 1 or 2 remediation examples. My time is getting over. Every number has a name. 3 skills required for counting in the mind and counting and writing the numbers. Every number has a name. Every number represents a quantity. Every number has a position. You just see, every number has a name. This number, the name of this number is 6. No doubt everyone knows. Every number represents a quantity. It represents 6 quantities kept together. Every number has a position. 6 comes after 5 and before 7. After and before are the 2 keywords in primary mathematics. If these 3 skills are not acquired by the child, naturally the child will have problems in mathematics in total. Now let us take multiplication. See, multiplication, with respect to multiplication, you know, we always give a lot of practice. And when a child has a problem with respect to multiplication, the first thing we have to check is whether the child is aware of skip counting. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. And make the child to recite 3 times. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. Erase 20 from the board. And then ask, or sorry, I take a pardon. Erase 2 from the board. And then ask the child to recall from the mind. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. Then next 4, erase it. In the same manner, go on erasing. Within 5 minutes, the child will learn skip counting. And then you ask the child to learn the multiplication table. 2 1s are 2, 2 2s are 4, 2 3s are 6, 2 4s are 8. The child will learn multiplication table very easily. This is what we call it as intervention. Now, the last 1 minute, Amma, I have overshooted the time. Last 1 minute, what do you mean by comprehension? This is what in the higher classes you will be able to find more often. What do you mean by comprehension? Now, I have written a sentence, Rama went to forest. I request everyone to close your eyes and think about this sentence. Rama went to forest. Rama went to forest. Open your eyes, that's enough. Can you just use the chat box and tell me, what did you get in your mind? What pictures you got it in your mind? Please, let me see the chat box. Please type in the chat box, please. Trees, very good. Very good. Rama went to forest. Shanti Amma is telling trees, very good. Anyone else? Anyone else? Please respond quick. We should be very fast with respect to our fingers online. Okay, Lord Rama, great. Okay. Okay, very good. And now next, somebody has seen rivers, somebody has Rama with Sita. Very good. See the imagination. For a child who has learning problems, Rama went to forest is only a sentence like this. R-A-M-A-W-E-N-T-T-O-F-O-R-E-S-T. He is not able to see Lord Rama. He is not able to see forest. He is not able to see anything. This is what is comprehension problem. How to overcome this problem? Every day, give picture to the child. Ask the child to close his eyes and visualize the pictures with the dark colors and give a practice for 10 to 50 days. If it is a higher class, 15 minutes enough. Make the child to close the eyes and recall the sentence. This is what we call it as intervention with respect to learning disability. So I covered the reading problem, then the writing problem, the mathematics, 3 R's and 3 C. I have completed reading, writing, arithmetic, comprehension and concentration. I have completed coordination. I did not touch upon. And this is what I wanted to tell you. I know you will have a lot of questions because 15 minutes time, what best I can do it. I have done it. Thank you very much. Hari Om, thank you for your support, the entire CCMT Education Cell and all the teachers, the entire team. Thank you very much for your support. Thank you, Amma.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Pushparaj. I think I can see the passion in you when you're talking. The presentation was very, very inspiring, actually. It was all inspiring. And I think it's 15 minutes is just the tip of the iceberg. You can go into it.
That's all.
You can do a lot of work. I'm very happy that we have a resource person amidst us who can talk about this, because this is something new area which all the teachers need to know, because not just children who are physically dyslexic, sometimes we do not know the learning difficulties in the child's mind, the brain and things like that. We are not able to identify. Sometimes they're very late, only sometimes it is identified that child has a problem. So earlier interventions are given. I think as teachers, we need to be very alert to see what is the problems with children. I think that will really help us. Thank you so much, Mr. Pushparaj. I think it was really a fantastic session. We now go on to Mrs. Priya Pillai, principal from the Chinmaya Vidyalaya, Tirupunithura. She is going to do a session. She wanted to speak on the ethical practices for teachers. So something very, very important, because children get what they see and not what they listen. You can give n number of instructions, but unless our ethical practices are adapted by us, I don't think we can inspire children to have any of our expectations can never be met. So here we have Priya Pillai from Tirupunithura School. She's a postgraduate in English literature, and she started with the Vidyalaya as a teacher. Now she has become the principal. The Vidyalayas performance in academic, sports, and under her leadership, all activities, this school is coming up so well. It's a lot of credit to Priya ji. And she's also been a resource person for CBSE, conducting capacity building programs. She has been, we are also trying to get her into the academic assessment team. She is now escorting the assessors, and quite a number of activities. She has been playing a key role as a judging, and then she is also in the social front. She has guided children for the flood affected and the patients of various hospitals in the Kansas state. On the personal front, I can see she's a very smiling and a compassionate person as she is. So over to Priya ma'am she's going to talk about the ethical practices for teachers, something very, very interesting and absolutely required for all of us. Over to Priya ma'am. Priya ma'am, you can unmute yourself and you can start. Please unmute yourself. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Hari Om, ma'am. At the outset, let me thank you, ma'am, and other members of the Education Cell also for giving me a chance to be the speaker of this function. And I would like to share my screen in the beginning itself. I hope it's visible.
It is visible.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. I just would like to draw your attention to the slide which I have presented over here. The teacher should be morally and ethically clean and divine in all his thoughts and actions. The perfect master's purpose and devotion is to provide an ideal example for students to follow. So from this, I would like to bring the topic out, that is the topic of ethical practices for teachers. As educators and nation builders, we teachers are shouldering a great responsibility in an already busy school day. Finding time to build character in our schools and students can be a real challenge. However, since school is the first social structure the child encounters, it provides an excellent opportunity for character building. Teachers help students learn the academic basis, but they also teach valuable life lessons by setting a positive example. As role models, teachers must follow a professional code of ethics. This ensures that the students receive a fair, honest, and uncompromising education. A professional code of ethics outlines the teacher's main responsibilities to their students and defines their role in students' lives. Above all, teachers must demonstrate integrity, impartiality, and ethical behavior in classrooms in their conduct with parents and co-workers. Students matter the most. Teachers must model strong character traits such as perseverance, honesty, respect, lawfulness, patience, fairness, responsibility, and unity. Every person, right from the iconic scoundrels like Hitler to saints like Mirabehan, have a character. We use the term character to describe a person's most prominent attributes. It is a sum total of the features and traits that form an individual's nature. So when we say someone has a good character, we are expressing the opinion that his or her nature is defined by worthy traits like integrity, courage, and compassion. People of good character are guided by ethical principles. These principles can be instilled in children by example. That is a place where the role of the teacher comes in. As a teacher, you must treat every student with kindness, equality, and respect without showing favoritism, prejudice, or partiality. At this juncture, I would wish to quote the words of Swami Vivekananda. Education is not the amount of information put into your brain and runs riot there, undigested all your life. We must have life-building, man-making, and character-making assimilation of ideas. The ideal, therefore, is that we must have the whole education of our country, spiritual and secular, in our own hands, and it must be on national methods as far as practical. How values get instilled in students. The students of today are the citizens and leaders of tomorrow. They are the building blocks for a good society. We cannot have a good society without good human beings. Hence, a teacher's responsibility is not just to impart knowledge in classroom. It is also the teacher's responsibility to mold the desirable characteristics and moral values of students. Children get exposed to the right values from an early age. By the time they enter kindergarten, they have already been exposed to a few values by their parents. But for many children, the other most important influence on their emerging value system is their teacher. This is not surprising given that the child spends as much time during the school year with her teacher as she does with her parents. Strictly speaking, there is no such thing as value-free education. Teachers are communicating values to their students all the time, and not just through lessons or teaching materials. They set examples in class that are never forgotten by children. Hence, we teachers have to be extremely careful. The impression created is a lifetime learning. Values cannot be taught, but values are caught. The teacher's appearance, speech, manner of relating with students, sense of humor, all teach lessons to students about ways of acting, thinking, and feeling. For instance, a teacher who encourages a child to handle a problem on her own is promoting the value of self-reliance and independent thinking. Now the question is, what are the values to be instilled in children? Different teachers emphasize different values. Some stress on being courteous and kind to classmates. Others think obedience and respect of authority are important. Some prioritize being dependable and responsible. And yet, others want you to think for yourself and stand up for your beliefs. Here are some desirable characteristics and moral values that need to be instilled in students by teachers. Ethics like honesty and integrity. Honesty and integrity are essential for the leading a good life. As the saying goes, honesty is the best policy. And that is true for everyone and anyone at whatever stage of life they are in and whatever profession. Students should be taught not to cheat on tests, not to copy other students' homework, and not to tell lies either at school or anywhere else. A teacher should set an example by herself being honest in all her dealings with the class. Ideally, students should get to hear stories about honesty. Now sit back and enjoy the story I have before you.
संभल के आराम से पासबुक पापा की पेंशन
काउंटर 4 आ जाते हैं। अगला कौन है? क्या मुसीबत है? मैनेजर से मिली, ये लो एप्लीकेशन।
लेकिन
मैनेजर, अगला कौन?
साइन कीजिए पापा। मुझे दीजिए।
इसको छोड़ना नहीं
पापा।
हाँ जी कहिए
सर पेंशन।
हाँ इस महीने की 5,500 आ तो गई। प्रॉब्लम क्या है?
लेकिन 2 बार आई है।
क्या बात है? पार्टी कीजिए अंकल।
नहीं पापा इसे वापस करना चाहते हैं।
बड़ा लंबा चक्कर है, छोड़िए ना, किसको पता चलेगा?
मुझे पता है, किसी को पता चले ना चले, गलत तो गलत है। जहां उसूल है वहां भरोसा है।
You're not audible, Priya. Yeah.
Hello?
Yeah.
Okay. The love for learning, that is the next one. The love for learning. A teacher should motivate students to be engaged fully in learning. This can be done by the right attitude, demeanor, classroom atmosphere created, incorporating of diverse learning materials such as audiovisual aids or online resources, and a friendly and a cheerful presence of the teacher. The next value is hard work. Thomas Edison said, "Genius is 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration." Even if a student is very smart and intelligent, without hard work, she will not go far in her academics and in her life in general. Students should be taught to overcome their lazy habits by making them work hard, by giving assignments from time to time and expecting them to complete them on time. Students who work hard should be rewarded by compliments such as excellent or nicely done on assignments and tests. The names of the students excelling in curriculum and extracurricular activities should be posted in the classroom bulletin board. Curiosity and willingness to ask questions. Curiosity is a vital ingredient in students because it will make them explore things around them and also delve into the subjects they are exposed to at school. Also, too many students are only too willing to accept everything that the teacher says or what they read in the textbook. They do not question its veracity. They have never learned how to ask questions to clarify their understanding about the topic they are studying. So the teacher should opt for a student-centered classroom and encourage the students to ask questions by explicitly asking them if they have any from time to time. Being responsible. Once they grow up, the students have to take on various jobs and roles that they are responsible for a great many things and will be held accountable. So the sooner they learn about what it means to shoulder responsibility, the better off they'll be in the long run. Students should be held responsible and accountable for being punctual to class, doing assignments on time, making up missed assignments, etc. The teacher should also set a good example by being punctual to class and being well prepared for all his lessons. There should be rewards and punishments to ensure the responsibility and accountability of students. The next one is good manners and etiquettes. In any walk of life, a person who is well-mannered and well-behaved is liked by all. So students should be taught to be polite to their classmates and teachers in school. They should not disturb the class by talking loudly or moving out of their seats. Here too, the teacher can and should set an example by being polite themselves to others, to other teachers, to other students. If a student is displaying very bad manners, he should be taught to be better. Every student should learn to say thank you, please, sorry, etc. in an appropriate context and situations. If the teacher comes across any misbehavior among children, however small it may be, it has to be dealt with firmly. I would say be politely firm. Now I would request you to sit back and watch a small video.
जरूरत थी छोरे से इतना गुस्सा करने की? जरा सी बात तो थी। ₹10 के लिए छोरे ने भूखा मारेगी क्या?
ऐसा क्या कर दिया इसने जो प्लेट उठा के ले जा रही है?
10 रुपए तो लिए थे तेरे पर्स से, कोई पड़ोस से तो न लाया था?
मेरे पैसे लिए थे इसने, तेरे बाप के नहीं।
छोटे घर की है ना, तेरी माँ ने कुछ जो सिखाया नहीं है?
जान दे, ये तो तुझे खाना देगी ना, तू मेरी प्लेट से खा ले।
तैं अपने खाने की चिंता कर। इसने 10 रुपए लिए ना हैं, चुराए हैं। आज चोरी की है, कल न जाने क्या करेगा। और अगर मैं इसकी मां की जगह होता ना, तो 2 दिन तक इसको खाना नहीं देता। बहू, ठीक किया है तूने। खा ले।
exactly what a teacher has to do. Be politely firm. Next one is self-esteem. Without self-esteem, one is at the mercy of opinions of others in society. Students must learn to love themselves and take pride in their personality and accomplishments. They must have self-confidence and feel good about themselves. The teacher can help the students along this dimension by showing concern and love for students and give them attention and every opportunity to succeed. The teacher should also boost self-esteem with appropriate compliments and rewards. Now, cooperating with others. Teamwork is the order of the day in most occupations and jobs these days. So the students must be taught to cooperate and work with others. This can be done by having them participate in discussions, group discussions, and working together on projects. Being helpful and kind to our fellow human beings is our utmost importance for a society to function. Students can be made to learn these qualities by making them engage in such behaviors as erasing the board for the teacher or helping them pass out a book or papers. The students can also be made to tutor weaker students in the class. Civic-mindedness is a desirable characteristic for everyone in the society. The school is a good place to cultivate civic responsibilities. Students should be expected to keep their premises clean and not litter the classroom or school playgrounds. They should be encouraged to volunteer to do small chores for the class or school, such as carrying benches or chairs to set up for the school assembly. Students should be shown films on pollution and global warming, which topics should then be discussed in the classroom. If the teacher neglect to instill the above values in their students, they will be doing a great injustice to the society and nation. Without such values, all we will have on our hands is a disordered and ill-functioning society. Okay. I wish to repeat the same thing. If the teacher neglects to instill the above values in their students, they will be doing injustice to the society. So character is ethics in action. Like a well-built tower, character is built stone by stone and decision by decision. With that, I come to the end of this session. Thank you. Thank you. Hari Om.
Thank you, Priyaji. That was really nice. See, ethics, when you talk about ethics for practices for teachers, you can go on and on. There is so much to be done. So whatever the speakers, I request you to have the constraint of 15 minutes. That's very essential. There's a lot of points were suggested by Priya ma'am. It was wonderful. Actually, there are so many things that she brought out, all the points which are needed for a teacher. But basically, Gurudev says that when the child needs to be corrected, I like that video, both the videos were very good. Child needs to be corrected, we cannot spare. We just spare the rod and spoil the child. But rod is now out. We can't touch the rod now. Teachers are not, the government will not allow, maybe will be put in jail. Now, that is not possible. But at the same time, we should be firm in correcting children. And more or less, this session is mainly for to make us understand what are our practices which we need to do. You come on time to the school, children are going to be punctual. You be soft-spoken, children are going to be soft-spoken. If you do not use abusive words, children will not use it. They are watching you all the time. I think Swamini Amma used to say this very beautiful thing. She says, one unethical doctor can kill few patients and one unethical engineer can spoil 2-3 buildings. But one unethical teacher will spoil one age group of students, one battalion of children will get spoiled. They'll all copy us and will not be able to create a better society. So both the videos were very correct. I see some of the schools practicing things like no invigilator exam and all of that. Very difficult. You see, it is not easy to achieve the right behavior in children. We need to do a lot of exercise, deliberated. Thank you so much, Priya ma'am. So we come to the end of the last speaker for today. That is Mrs. Vijayalakshmi. She's been 28 years of experience with Chinmaya Vidyalaya, and in 2006, from the last 14 years, she has been the principal of the Virugambakam School. She has given her bio a little briefing, but I know how Virugambakam School has grown up in the past years. Credit goes to Vijayalakshmi ji. She has been a pillar of support to the school, and I have to say this, when the applications are given in Virugambakam School, we know that at least one day before children's parents come and stand in a line. That speaks volume of the school, how she is running the school. That is Vijayalakshmi Amma. She has undergone ELT training by CBSE for class 10 and 12, and strategic leadership training for CBSE principals at IIM Bangalore. She has cleared Trinity CBSE grade 12, undergone the CCE master training by the Central Board of Education. She also received the Global Teacher Accreditation from British Council for her action research that she performed. She has does a tremendous work with CBSE. She is a chief nodal supervisor for the class 10 English exam evaluation. She is a mentor and monitoring committee of CCE. She has been conducting ELT workshops for Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Karnataka, and Andhra Pradesh. Organized quality circle in the school, guided the students who took the national level quality competition. She's a master trainer for ASL and English core, English for language and literature for class 10 training program. Resource person for CBSE. She's a domain expert for the new course material for the class 9 syllabus of State Council of Research, Education, Research and Training, Tamil Nadu. She has authored English textbooks and support materials. She is currently the chairperson of the Chennai Sahodaya School Complex, and she contributes in a big way to the education cell, conducting assessments, class assessments and all of that. So over to Vijayalakshmi ma'am. And I see a lot of people not switching on the video. Please switch on the video. We would like to see you people and not just have your names there. That's very important. So Vijayalakshmi amma, you're there. You can unmute yourself and start the session. I can't see you. Vijay. You have signed in as Vijayalakshmi. Can you unmute yourself, Vijayalakshmi?
Yeah, yes, I am able to. Thank you.
I'm not able to see you. That's why.
Yeah, I will switch it on. It was off.
It's searching for you. That's why. I'm going to mute all, and then you can unmute again. Yeah. Now you can unmute again. Yeah. Now I unmute.
Hello. Am I audible?
Yes. Yes.
Oh. 1 minute, I'm just using another device also. I will just mute it so that it doesn't echo. Okay. So that I can see my presentation over there, whether it's Hari Om, my pranams to Puja Gurudev. It is a great opportunity. I must say that it is kind of a dream come true that I'm participating in a seminar conducted by the CCMT Education Cell, because all the seminars conducted by CCMT Education Cell are high quality programs, and finding a place inside that itself is a great honor, I feel. And thank you, Shanti Amma, for those nice words about me. And straight away, let me go into the presentation, because the time allotted is very short. I'll just present my screen, just check whether.
I just forgot to give the topic. Amma is going to speak on the implementation of critical thinking in children. Strategies that the teachers can follow. One of the most important 21st century skill that she's going to talk about.
Yeah, I think my screen is visible, right?
Yeah, perfectly visible, Amma.
Oh. So thank you very much. And first, critical thinking skill. We talk about the 21st century skills, and more often than not, it is said that today the kind of the teaching that we do, the objective of teaching in a school is totally different from the days when we went to school as students. Today, we are teaching students for a job market which is unknown to us. We don't know what are the kind of jobs that are going to emerge in the future, right? Say 10 years or 15 years down the line. And we are preparing our children for such a job market where the content, the knowledge that they gain in the school is not going to be enough for them unless and until they have polished their skills, their soft skills. And one of the most important soft skills, life skill, learning skill, study skill, whatever you call it, would be critical thinking. Critical thinking skills is paramount importance because this is what is going to take them through their life, whether it is a decision making in life or a decision making in a job market, in a career, in your career, or decision making in even every moment we are provided with choices. Even now, all of us have the choice whether we should listen to or not to. So whenever life is throwing up choices continuously, and it is our intellect and our knowledge that should guide us to critically think and evaluate and choose the best. Okay. Yeah, first I have a small question for all of you. Just read the question. A pack of bread and cheese together cost rupees 110. The pack of cheese costs rupees 100 more than the pack of bread. How much does the bread cost? I want the answer in 20 seconds. I wouldn't allow you more time. Just 20 seconds. You can type the answer in the chat. Just, I give you only 20 seconds. The question is on the screen. You can definitely see that. So everybody is scared of maths. No answers coming up. Okay. How many of you thought it would be, how many of you thought it is 100? Sorry, how many of you thought it is 15? Okay, yeah. Is the video not on?
Yeah, it is on.
Okay. So the answer, I have given the answer. So many of us would have immediately concluded if it is, sorry, I mentioned the cost of the cheese, sorry, the cost of bread. We would have jumped to the conclusion it is 10. Because our mind calculates in such a way, but the answer is actually rupees 5 only. 5 plus 105 is only 110. If you make it 10, then it will be 10 plus 110, it will be 120. So this is very simple question, a very simple thing. All of us are very good at calculation, but still we tend to make mistake. So this is only to highlight the pitfalls that we may fall into because we are not applying our critical thinking skills. Because we've been taught only to think in one particular angle. We don't comprehensively, encompassing way, we don't think. That is the reason. So let me just take you through the definition for critical thinking. There may be different ways of expressing it. I have picked up this one. It is the intellectually disciplined process of actively conceptualizing, applying, analyzing, synthesizing, and or evaluating information gathered from or generated by observation, experience, reflection, reasoning, or communication as a guide to belief and action. So it may be very confusing why I have put all these things, because critical thinking is a big process. It's not just thinking and making a decision. It requires all these skills. You have to know the concept, apply the concept, analyze it, synthesize it with your knowledge, and evaluate the information with your own observation, experience, and you have to reflect, reason out, and then you have a set of value system and belief. Based on that, you have to evaluate everything. So it is a big process. Okay. So it is based on universal intellectual values that transcend subject matter division. It's not related or it's not particular to any one subject alone. It involves clarity, accuracy, precision, consistency, relevance, sound evidence, good reasons, depth, breadth, and fairness. Fairness is very important, which I'll be talking later. Okay. And what is critical thinking? It is the ability to use information, ideas, and arguments from relevant perspectives to make sense of complex issues and solve problems. So this is the very simple, this is how I have understood. This is a very simple explanation of critical thinking. So because today we are overloaded with information, critical thinking as a life skill is very important because we are bombarded with information, and even children at that age, they really don't know what is right, what is not right. So we talk about cyber safety, cyber security, so much of information overload, and it is children who should critically think and be able to understand the problems, be able to select and choose the right tools and right method. So this is something very, very important. And then also, this critical thinking, whenever they set out to solve an issue or a problem, only they should be based on, it should be based on their critical evaluation and thinking. And why should students be trained in critical thinking skill? Students who know how to analyze and critique ideas are able to make connections across discipline. We talk about interdisciplinary because the knowledge that we learn in the school is not a watertight compartment. Science overlaps with maths. It overlaps with languages. It overlaps with social science. So the knowledge can never be compartmentalized. It is interrelated. So the students who can think critically, they will be able to make the connection and relationship between the different subjects and see knowledge is useful and applicable to daily life and understand content on a deeper, more lasting level. And it's very, very important. Just knowledge, if it is going to remain as knowledge, it's not useful to anybody unless and until they apply it to daily life. Today, we want our children not just to be a consumer, but we want them to be producers, and also we want them to be contributors to the world. Critical thinking enables students to assess their learning style, strengths and weaknesses, and allows them to take ownership of their education. So they put here, we need not have to all the time be telling the children, or the teacher need not have to take the onus of learning on her. The onus on the teacher is only to guide the students how to learn. So once this critical thinking skills are developed, the child will be able to learn for himself. He will understand his plus and minus, and he will take ownership for his own education. And skills, what are the skills involved in critical thinking? So first one is applying logic. So to understand the logical connection between ideas, the first question that I put up is only a logical question. It's mathematics is always logic, and how to apply that logic, that is what is very, very important. And reasoning, hypothesizing, problem solving, information processing, and evaluation. Okay. What are the critical thinking tools that we can use in our classrooms? Getting the facts. For example, if you want the children to get the facts, we normally use these questions: who, what, when, where, and how. But what happens is, it is always these questions are asked only by the teachers, not by the students. The moment we teach the children to ask these questions, they should ask these questions. Whenever they are presented with new knowledge, the children should be able to ask these questions of who, what, when, where, and how. So it is not the teacher who should pose the question. The question should come from the students. And evaluating the facts. They should be able to evaluate the facts that are presented to them, whether they are relevant, whether they are significant, whether they are applicable in their daily life. And drawing a conclusion using logic. How valid it is. Is it using their logic, using their previous knowledge? They should be able to validate and see whether it is consistent with the previous other knowledge that they have gained in other subjects, maybe other subjects. And evaluating the conclusion. Then when they come to a conclusion, they have to evaluate whether the conclusion or the decision or the solution that they take is fair and reasonable. Does it have depth and breadth? Fair and reasonable is very important because this becomes a part of their value system. They should always be able to take fair and reasonable decision. Impartial, they should be impartial, and they should be able to take the right decision based on the value system that they acquire through school and at home. The prerequisites for promoting critical thinking in our schools. First, we teachers and principals should allow students to ask basic questions. The questions need not be posed. This is the first change that I would want in the classrooms. The questions need not always come from the teacher. It should be from the students. And provide a supportive and positive environment. Support, I'm explaining it in detail in the following slide. Support with prompts and feedback. Be open-minded and promote open-mindedness. Move from the structured and confining schedules, because this is a complaint from most of the teachers. When we talk about all these improving these kind of 21st century skills, more often than not, teachers complain that where do we have the time? We have to complete our portions. We have to prepare our children for board examination. Marks-oriented examination. Marks are more important. So definitely, if we really want our school to be, we want our children to be critically thinking, definitely we have to move make a slight shift from the structured and confining schedules and allow a lot of time for the children to think on their own. Assign self-learning and research-based tasks. This is what CBSE is also encouraging and insisting. Give enough time for reflection. In our classroom, we always jump with answers. Teachers normally jump with answers. Where the moment the children are not able to give answer, it is very, maybe it's because out of empathy that we always try to give them the answer, but allow time for them to think and come out with their own answer. So what are the kind of questioning attitude that we can develop? We can ask the children. These are prompts and reviews also. Could you elaborate further on that point? Will you express that point in another way? Just not be happy with the definition or the answer that is given. You can further go on probing by asking these questions. Can you give me an illustration? Can you give me an example? Will you add more detail? Could you be more specific? Do we need to consider another point of view? Is there any other way to look at this question? So this way, the question and answer session in the class doesn't end with one answer. You gather a lot of different viewpoints. Okay, the conducive environment, physical environment has to be very rich and vibrant. The class has to have a lot of visual inputs. It could have a lot of reading materials available. And at the same time, emotional support from the teacher is most important. The teacher should be encouraging, accepting, should have a positive approach, and be able to assign collaborative tasks so that the children can engage and discuss and find a solution. Okay, prompts and feedback. How can the teacher be prompting and giving feedback which can encourage children to think critically? Ask open-ended questions. Don't ever always be asking questions for which answers are already ready. Give open-ended questions. Like I said earlier, these kind of open-ended questions will go a long way in making the children think. Even whether it is science or mathematics or anything, let them see the relationship between two parts. Let them understand why is it behaving in this manner, why is it not behaving in the other manner. Similarly, in social science, there's a lot of things to be discussed, because we all know very well, being in Chinmaya Vidyalayas, I'm sure all of us are aware how distorted the history of India is, the way it is presented to our students. So it is our duty to make the children understand. That can be done only in a subtle way, by asking, by putting up open-ended questions. Why do you think it was this way? What would have happened if the Mughals did not come to India? So questions like that would definitely prompt the children to think, and then you can definitely inculcate or make them understand, see the glorious heritage of our country. And do not stop with yes or no questions. Yes or no questions are very, very rigid questions with rigid answers. So that is not the only answer. There could be many more answers possible. So do not stop with yes or no questions. Again, I go back to the previous slide where I had given you some of the examples. And positive feedback is something very, very important. Not intimidating remarks that you give, saying keep quiet, don't ask such silly questions. These kind of words will definitely discourage. He will never ever attempt to think critically ever. So positive feedback by means of prompts and feedback, children should be able to understand that whether their thinking is in the right direction or not. That leave it to the children. You don't point out, and we need not have to point out and find fault with them. Okay, and what are the desired student behavior? Okay, it's not only the teacher behavior which is important, the student behavior is also equally important. The students have to be open-minded. So are the students ready to consider evidence opposing their view and to revise their view if necessary? Are they ready for that? Are they fair-minded? Are students willing to give impartial consideration to alternative points of view and not simply impose their preferences? Independent minded, are our students willing to stand up for their firmly held beliefs? This is something very important for maintaining their value system. Even when they go out of the safe environment of Chinmaya Vidyalayas, if they are independent minded, they will never ever choose the wrong path. Inquiry or critical attitude, are students inclined to question the clarity and support of claim? Anything they can criticize, but then their criticism should be supported by strong evidences. Okay, so classroom activities that promote critical thinking, grouping and ordering of items, find the odd man out, what is common, etc. For example, look at this, find the odd man out, horse, cat, dog, bird. So all of us will be able to say it is, I know I can, you all can tell me what is the odd man out. We all would say bird, right? But some child may even come out with an answer like horse. Say, because horse is something on which you, on which a person, a human being can ride and not the others. Similarly, look at this example, kettle, puddle, sink, saucepan. So anybody would, I'm sure that all of you would come out with the answer puddle, because that's not a kitchen implement. But some child may also come out with an answer like saucepan, because that's something not to be found with water. But then we should be able to, this may be logically correct. When you apply logic, it may be correct, but then what is the wrong way of thinking on the part of the child? We should be able to guide, because many times it happens in our question papers also. We don't think and we don't set the question. So that's why we see children coming out with multiple answers, but sometimes we do know that it is illogical also. Okay, and analogies also. Analogies are comparing two things. Okay, so that is also a very easy and very simple way of inculcating critical thinking skills. And debates is something very, very important. But the debate that we conduct in our class is not the right way of doing it, because it should not be, the debate has to be based upon research. So before we conduct a debate in our class, the classroom, in the class, the teacher and the students collaboratively should have done a lot of research, and then only they go into the debate. Not just assigning a topic to debate in the class and ask them to debate is not the right way, because they are misguided. They Google out some information which is not based on any values, any valid argument. So debates have to be very carefully handled. And then you all know about the KWL chart, that is not what I know, what I want to know, and what I have learned at the end of the lesson. This is again another great way of inculcating critical thinking skills. And classroom gallery work, display the projects and display the opinions or display the work of the students inside the class. Let the students take a walk around the classroom, look at the work of the others and write some comment, put a paste, paste it on, and then you can ask them to write their comments, write their views, what they understood. So that way you generate a lot of discussion and information. And film and book review again is one of the good ways of inculcating critical thinking skills. But again, I want, but it should not be just for the sake of doing it. The teacher has to watch the film together. The teacher has to read the book along with the students part by part and then review it. Only then it will be of some use. And fact versus opinion. Children should be told what is fact and what is opinion. For example, sun is very hot. It is a fact. But the opinion, I can say sun is beautiful. That is only a opinion. So it may vary. So these kind of differences we have to highlight. Again, I say because it is a life skill. Children today don't know the difference between fact and opinions. They believe all opinions to be facts. That's a problem that we have. This kind of the societal problems arise out of it. And And the last one is hypothesizing. I will show you some examples. See, for example, look at this scenario. Ravi has gone missing, and these are the clues available. The bedroom door is locked from outside. The window has been broken from, the bedroom door is locked from inside. The window has been broken from outside. There are large muddy footprints. One of his suitcases are missing. So these are the clues available. So what would you decide about what should have happened to Ravi? You can just type it in the chat box, whatever comes to your mind. See, this is the scenario. Ravi has gone missing, and these are the clues available. The bedroom door is locked, and the window has been broken from outside. There are large muddy footprints available, which are obviously not Ravi's, and one of his suitcases are missing. So what would you conclude? What would you think might have happened to Ravi? Jumped out of the window and went with his, went with his suitcase, possible, okay. Yes. Any other answer? He has gone on a secret trip. Possible? Yes. Okay. Okay. See, there could be any answer possible, but it also gives you a chance to understand the value system of a child, the beliefs of a child, the kind of environment in which the child is living. These kind of questions, these kind of hypothesizing is only based on the value system, basically based on the value system of the child. That gives you a lot of clue to understand the child in his own perspective. And if it needs to be corrected, we can definitely take corrective action. So the last slide, I'm coming to the last slide of my this thing. This you can just Google it and find out. It is a open source available. It's not a copyrighted one or anything. That's why I'm just sharing it here. It's a very well-known one, and this you can definitely take printouts and give it to teachers, and you can definitely these questions, if the teachers are able to keep in mind and take it to their classes, whatever be the lessons, whatever is the relevant topics that they are dealing, and if they can answer these kind of questions and these kind of prompts, I'm sure definitely there could be a lot of critical thinking happening inside of our classroom. I think, Amma, have I completed, have I covered my this thing?
I think it's time to wind up. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you, Emma. Thank you.
It was very, very informative. So many tips have been given. I really appreciate it. It was a wonderful session, Amma. You presented it so beautifully. And I mean, my own experience, I see, you can stop sharing this. Thank you. My own experience I see is that our children, when they come to school, they're very active. They want to communicate, they want to talk, they ask questions and all of that. But slowly, I don't know where this instruction starts that we tell them stop asking questions or shut up and sit. Don't make noise, or don't disturb the class, I have to finish the portion. All that we do unknowingly, and then, you know, the damage happens. The child stops asking questions. By the 6th standard, 7th standard, you see, they just stop asking questions. They give it up. They just accept whatever you say, and then they start looking at marks and all of that. That was not our Indian system. Our Indian system was based on inquiry. It was customized. If someone asks more questions, he is treated in a different way. That was the very beautiful thing which we had in our system. Thank you so much, Jayalakshmi, and I have to congratulate all the 3 speakers. All of you did a very, very, very good job, fantastic job. We're running out of time. 11:30, we have to finish. I just want to ask you one question, Mr. Pushparaj. You can just take 2 minutes and explain it if it is possible. You have to unmute yourself. How do we handle when the class has a properly, you know, a real dyslexic child and other children in the class? How do a teacher justify? We don't have too much time. If you make it very precise, that will be wonderful. With that, then we will.
Okay, Madam, are you able to hear me?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. See, in the classroom, for example, in the last year's batch, we had a child, with a special concession, additional time and other things. We were managing him from, class 2nd onwards. And even he has taken a maths standard paper in 10th standard. And additional time is there. That is the one advantage he has. See, what we are supposed to do is let the child go sit in the class as usual. The extra time, what you are making the child to be seated with the teacher. Maybe in a week 3 times in a day, maybe in a week 2 times in a day, and train the mother what post work to be done at home. That is very important. See, when you send a child to a clinical psychologist, what you are supposed to do is, what are the observations made by the teacher? Class teacher has observed this, and the subject teacher has observed this.
We lost
this
you.
Is,
we can't...
Okay?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Are you able to hear me? Are you able to hear me? Yeah, I think some network issues are there. I think that's why it is giving some trouble. And are you able to hear me, Amma?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So what observations made by you, and that has to be made as a list and send it to the psychologist and give a query. Please tell us what are the practices to be done in the school and what is the practices to be done at home. Then the clinical psychologist will give you points, 5 points to the school and 5 points to the parents. This is where we go wrong. They come with the certificate, our job is done. No. What is the extra time work given? And when the exam is approaching nearby, and make him to be seated with the teacher and give him easy questions and make him solve and let him get a winning experience. That is the crux of remedial education. Make him to get a winning experience, and the minute you make him to be seated in the front bench, see that the teacher's eye contact is always there with the child. Call his names every now and then. Somebody is there in the school to take concern. See, only thing is I used to do is I just go there and pat them when the remedial session is going on. You are cooperating with the teacher, very good. See, these positive strokes make a wide difference, and the scientific method in which we work. When all these things combine together, definitely we'll get the result.
That is really brilliant. I think not just with dyslexic children, all children who are not performing, we need to show them that we are concerned, doing well, come on, go ahead. I think that was a wonderful answer. Thank you so much. I'm very, very happy that our Suresh Mohanji is available with us. He's one of the board members of CCMT Education Cell. Suresh Mohanji, I would be very happy if you can speak a few words and encourage all our upcoming speakers from Chinmaya Vidyalayas, our own resource people.
Thank you, Sanjay.
Yes.
Actually, this is the second Saturday which we are conducting this program. And the last Saturday also I was there throughout, because I think I'm the only non-teaching person in this crowd. So I thought I will enjoy this session so that I can also understand what is all happening. See, the traditional story in the schools, what I understand is that it is all with the good results. But now that is being questioned by the scholars, the teachers, the students, the parents. So it is high time that we have to think, is there a better way of teaching? And these 2 sessions which I have heard, I am really happy that, that different thinking out of the box culture has already set in our leaders in our schools. And a new story has to come. Not the old traditional story of a school achieving the better results. There is no going back to the old story now. Things have completely changed, and many schools in India are thinking in that line. So we cannot be, a lame duck in this. We also have to think in a new way. So what does it really matter? If you look at that, we should have a purpose. We should create a social impact, and we also must impart the humanity and ethical values in our children. I'm very happy that these topics were covered even in today's thing. So let our leaders, our principals, be the leaders who can leave a legacy with our children, which will be worthwhile for them to remember, whatever be the name of the news story. You put any name in the news story, but let it be the effort of our teachers who can leave a legacy with our children, which will be worthwhile for them to remember for the years to come. This is all what I feel when I heard the last 6 speakers. They have done an excellent homework. Sometimes they were treating the others like school children. by asking questions and all that. I'm sure I look forward for the next Saturday also. I'm really finding time out for this. It's a good experience for me. Thank you and congratulations to Shanti Amma. And I also congratulate myself because being a part of the education cell that we could do this. And very good. Let's continue with this. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Suresh Mohanji. Absolutely, you hit the nail on the wall. It was absolutely, that is what we cannot just be going behind marks and all of that. And I'm so happy that the leaders have started thinking, the school leaders have started thinking. When you prepare a session, you do a lot of homework, an exercise, whatever you say becomes your own belief. And if leaders have a firm belief on such matters, I'm sure schools will improve. I request all of you to share these video presentations. Last week's was also uploaded in the CCMT Education YouTube channel. Subscribe it. Let's grow together. Let's become a popular channel. And so ask your teachers also to join. Let them also subscribe the channel. I'm sure we'll do a wonderful job. Today, I understand that some schools are being Durga Navaratri time are having Matru Puja celebrations. Some of them have sent messages to me. I could not come because we are having Matru Puja in our schools and all of that. I hope next week we will have full attendance. And just sharing the next week's presentation. This is going to be the next week's speakers. On the 31st of October, we are going to have Kulkarni, Kishore Kulkarni, principal from Chinmaya Vidyalaya, Shegaon, going to speak on the manifold perspectives of a teacher. Gauri Lakshmi, principal, Chinmaya Vidyalaya, Anna Nagar, going to speak on how teachers can collaborate and excel among themselves. And Srimati Meena Vilku, principal from Chinmaya Vidyalaya, Jamshedpur, going to speak on nurturing creativity. I'm sure we'll all grow together and evolve together. Let's all say the prayer. And I once again, on behalf of Education Cell, I extend my thanks to all the participants and also to the principals who shared their presentations today. Thank you so much. A lot of work done by all of you. I'm sure next year we'll have more exciting sessions from the speakers. Thank you again, Suresh Mohanji, for being with us. And this gives a lot of encouragement to us. Thank you so much. So let's all sit straight and do the closing prayer. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudashchate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.